Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, I'm Vipasha Rathod from Extramarks, your facilitator for this session. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome you all to our webinar series. Extramarks Elevate is a thought leadership series on education and technology aimed to serve as a platform for educationists, academicians, technocrats, young achievers, and other stakeholders to share their experiences and views on developments and trends in the field of education and technology. Being a leading edtech brand, we at Extramarks are very proud of our journey of the last 15 years and thankful to our 15,000 plus global schools, without whom our journey would not have been this fulfilling. Extramarks has been revolutionizing the way education is perceived and delivered. By custom creating learning solutions for the 21st century learners through state-of-the-art technology and empowering teachers with efficient pedagogical methodologies. For today's Elevate, we will be talking about breaking down academic silos and nurturing a culture of continuous learning in schools. To share their views, we have the privilege of being joined by a panel of distinguished experts, each with their own unique perspectives. To start with, we have Preeti Desai ma'am, who brings 38 years of experience in education with diverse portfolios, currently serving as Associate Director Academics at Kaveri Group of Institutes in Pune. She has created English textbooks, teacher manuals, thus showcasing her commitment to advancing education. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Anvarshaja, sir, Academic Director at Afkar International American School in Jeddah. Throughout his 22 years of experience, he's donned many hats, from being a CBSE principal to an American curriculum director and a teacher educator. We welcome you, sir. Thank you for joining in. Moving on, we have Mr. Pavan Vashishtha, principal at Birla, Shishu, Vihar, who comes on board with 2 decades of teaching and mentoring experience. He's also actively associated with the Edu Excellence and Initiative of IIT Delhi. Thank you for joining in, sir, and we welcome you.
Thank you, Vipasha. Thank you so much.
Next, we have Mr. Dheepan, sir, Vice Chairman, Sri Shakthi International School at Coimbatore. He co-established Sri Shakthi Institute of Engineering. His entrepreneurial journey started at an early age of 18, showcasing early leadership skills. Interestingly, he's also an avid long-distance cycle marathoner. Welcome you, sir.
Happy evening, ma'am, and thank you for the invitation.
We also have with us Mr. Vengasseeri, Chief Academic Officer, Extramarks Education. He started out as a physics faculty, influencing students' education across India. He's also a pioneer in early edtech. He innovated the online learning at Extramarks Education, creating effective solutions in live classes, benefiting students across. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Pasha. Good evening, everyone.
We will also be joined by Ms. Shivani Kalra, Director Admin at Vivekananda International Public School. She holds over 16 years of experience in teaching and educational leadership and has actively been involved in presenting and publishing research papers on topics like CSR. Last but not the least, we have Director Extramarks, Ms. Poonam Singh Jamwal, who has always believed in inclusive, intuitive, and holistic tech-enabled learning solutions. We have been happy to have her with Extramarks since 2007. Welcome, ma'am.
Good evening to everyone. Looking forward to the discussion today.
On that note, we'll start the webinar for today. Building a culture of continuous learning in schools is essential for fostering an environment that supports both students and educators in adapting to the ever-evolving world. But that's not all. To understand this in detail, we'll start the discussion with my first question to Ms. Preeti Desai, who has also published an article on the very same topic. Ma'am, how would you define a culture of continuous learning in schools, and why is it important for both students and educators?
Good evening, everyone.
Um, I would like to begin with praising today's youth because they are already trained and equipped with technology, and educators can immerse students in a continuous learning classroom where knowledge is power today and the internet is its guardian. So, but what is continuous learning? So, I think a good definition would be our drive to stay lifelong learners. And as students mature, an important milestone, of course, is to become more intrinsically motivated. And to develop these habits, students must learn beyond just recalling facts. They must comprehend the connections between the world and themselves, understand the implications of this content, and also be able to apply this newfound knowledge to leading concepts. So I would suggest that we encourage self-directed learning, which empowers individuals to take ownership of their learning journey. And for this, we have to design learning experiences that foster autonomy and critical thinking. We also need to provide resources and tools that enable these learners to explore topics of interest and curate their own learning material. One of these ways would be an online friendly classroom, which gives the students the tools needed to conduct research, evaluate processes, think critically to acquire mastery, cultivate logic and reasoning, and draw conclusions. Students can grow to communicate clearly with precise language, demonstrate ethical behavior and respect, and participate fully and freely in a community of global mutual independence. And as teachers, we become their role models for this kind of behavior. So a blended, digitally enhanced classroom is a platform on which we can promote these objectives, and teachers can exemplify online awareness and appreciation by designing new lessons that incorporate the technology that our students need. Thus, we are advocating for our students to also upgrade their learning targets and expectations. And presently, if we see, the teachers are tied down by the structure of the time-bound 35 minutes, 40-minute periods of timetables, which are created by themselves, leaving very little scope to experiment, use their creativity, and create independent thinkers. So the block period concept has to be the norm to seamlessly introduce the concepts with experiential project-based learning and integrated curriculum to bring a culture of continuous learning in schools. Over and above, the NEP emphasizes the needs to bring in the integrated curriculum so that there is emphasis on collaborative as well as the children's need for inquiry, which then becomes a vehicle for integration and hence continuous learning. We need to spend more time on students arriving at the solutions rather than it being delivered by the teachers. The teacher delivery leaves very little scope for independent thinking. The students need to collaborate to arrive at solutions, thus enhancing the team spirit. The teachers and learners create an atmosphere where they use their creativity and prior knowledge to arrive at different levels of understanding. Now, I feel the rationale behind all this for integrating the curriculum for continuous learning in schools is this allows children to pursue learning in a holistic way without restrictions often imposed by subject boundaries. This may take a little longer. The duration for doing this would be rather long, but it's worth the time taken. It combines various subjects and content areas into a unified and a cohesive learning experience. And in early childhood programs, it focuses upon the interrelatedness of all curricular areas, which help children acquire basic learning tools. The curriculum for the primary grades includes reading, writing, listening, speaking, literature, drama, social studies, math, science, health, physical education, music, and visual arts. This is all recognized through this way. And integrated teaching and learning processes, they enable children to acquire and use basic skills in all the content areas and to develop positive attitudes. And it also builds on relationship, which exists amongst all things. An integrated curriculum implies learning that is synthesized across traditional subject areas and learning experiences that are designed to be mutually reinforcing. This approach, it helps the child's ability to transfer their learning to other settings. It also helps students to see how the various subjects are interrelated and how they can apply their learning to solve complex problems in a real world.
Right.
And research has shown that an integrated approach to learning is brain compatible. The brain learns best in real life, immersion style, multipath learning. The fragmented piecemeal presenting can forever kill the joy and love of learning. The more connections made by the brain, the greater the opportunity for making high-level inferences. So there are things like flipped and blended learning,
Right.
and I could go on about this.
So,
And
ma'am, in fact,
basically,
I have a question linking to what you just mentioned. You very rightly said that we need to connect with the brain and we need to explore. One of the points you also said was we need to explore how in today's digital age we are, changing the curriculum styles to enable critical thinking in students, which is what brings me to my second question. And I would love to hear from you, Pavan sir, that how can schools shift towards more student-centered approaches to foster a culture of continuous learning?
Yes, thank you, Vipasha. That you see, we are talking here about through this topic, a culture in a school, continuous learning. When we talk about a culture in a school, it is certainly across the school, which has to help to grow teacher as well as the taught.
Right.
Secondly, that so once whatever the culture, I mean to say that for the continuous learning, as the few methods Ms. Preeti Desai also has elaborated, and which is being mentioned in NEP also. What I feel is that as we are talking, it's a culture, so it should come within. We have to provide such opportunities. We have to give such platform so that gradually we can evolve this kind of corners and the corridors in a school, which helps the child as well as the teachers to grow together. Now, continuous learning is something which is not that it can be individualized in all ways. In some cases, yes, at the time when we say that if I am not in a school or if I am elsewhere, I can focus it individually. But certainly if I'm in a school premises, then these are the like my teachers, students, they all together will help to grow each other. So continuous learning, and then the next is that we have to think beyond the classroom.
Right.
We cannot stick with the CBSE or NCERT curriculum and just to remain there. And to foster their inquisitiveness among the students, again, there are many methods like storytelling sessions is the major thing which we must continue with that. And then practical methods. Now even your like Extramark is offering also like virtual labs. Now these are the things where the children in smart classrooms. So this is the technology which helps the child to understand the concept. And the moment the concept will be clear to the child, the interest will be generated. And once the interest will be generated, learning will be continuous. There is no doubt about that, because he will eager to know more and more. So to develop and build this culture, I feel that we should go beyond the walls. We should provide the students enormous opportunities through, as Ms. Preeti Desai was mentioning, whether it is AIL, whether it is PBL, whether it is interdisciplinary projects, child must engage into these kind of activities. Then certainly that he will, in the due course of time, as we are aiming to a lifelong learner. A lifelong learner means that wherever you go, you must develop an observing eye. So once you visit some place, whether you are on a trip or you are in a conference or you are in a discussion or debate or you are presenting a drama, aesthetical skills you are engaged in. So if you have an observing eye, then it helps you to understand more and generate your interest. So I feel that if a school is providing and creating such culture, certainly we should able to produce more and more lifelong learners and may able to enhance the culture of continuous learning in schools.
Great. So again, pulling a thread out of what you said, sir, that we have to engage with the students, and continuous learning helps, there is a clear impact on the student behavior as well. My next question I would like to ask Dheepan, sir. From your observation, how has the concept of continuous learning influenced the overall school culture? How has it been shaping attitudes? Has it been shaping behaviors among both students and educators?
Okay, so happy evening once again. So in terms of really looking at what has been the impact of continuous learning on the attitudes of students, I would first take a step back and really be in a position to analyze why a teacher must first involve in the process of providing this continuous learning experience for our students. So with your permission, if I can share my screen and I can share my slides, it will be helpful. Could I share my slides?
Absolutely. So we'll just ensure you have access. Yes. Yes, sir, we can see the presentation.
So first, looking at why really we need to look at the continuous learning culture within the school, understanding that the DNA of a student has changed. What I would like to coin as DNA is digital nature and attitude of the student. The influence of the digital tools really made the world very, very flat. Gone are the days where the expertise, the knowledge is available only with the teacher within the classroom. And the edtech content that is in the digital space, including Extramarks, and there are many other edtech players now actively supported by the government of India. There are edtech companies which are publicly listed. There are companies that have billion-dollar valuations. There are edtech companies that even sponsor the Indian cricket team. So with such a wealth of money involved, the companies are in a position to bring out quality content onto the space. And last is the relationships that students are establishing with their own friends, with their own teachers and parents has drastically been affected by the onset of digital. So this is the first component. Moving on to what nature has done, looking at what nature has done over the last 3 to 5 years, COVID, cyclones, and chaos created by competition, created by competitive examinations, population growth, especially in a country like India. I think we are here to, first of all, understand that the climate change is for real, because of which you are going to see temporary breaks being created and schools having a necessity to provide this continuous learning. So therefore, nature is going to start playing a much more greater role in the coming days in terms of being able to necessitate this continuous learning culture. Lastly, the attitude itself, whether we are exploring if it has changed or not, we need to first of all understand that our movies that are being, having an investment of 1,000 crores or generating 1,000 crores, media, all of this is actually not just in the process of changing the attitude, it has already changed the attitude of students in a very different way. If you take the movies that have been successful in the last year, these are movies that are primarily based on violence, on how one should actually be more aggressive to be able to find solutions for the problems that they face. And all of this put together, brings also a clarity to a student or an understanding to a student that one can also involve, especially in some of the movies that we are seeing. Student walks into a class with a gun and attacks another student who's in the class, and this is something that we hear what has been happening in the US. But if it is being accepted as an influence in India, I think these are things that we need to take into consideration. But however, my last point here is that the student comes into the class strongly believing that the teacher has to involve in intrinsic motivational methods. We used to be having sticks, we used to be having harsh words, we used to be having harsh penalties, but I think these are all motivational methods that are gone. Teachers need to realize that. Teachers need to realize that students are entering the classrooms by really looking at a teacher as more like a mentor and expecting the teacher to involve in providing intrinsic motivation. So I think these are all the factors that are fundamentally, shaping the need for making students involved in continuous learning. And by and large, we see that, year to year, the state government, local authorities have also started declaring a lot of holidays by insisting the stress factor in students. We're also seeing that government authorities come forward and say you need to declare 2 weeks of holidays, etc. And all of this has actually brought down the number of working days within the school to around say 50 to 60% of the calendar year.
Right.
So all of this actually necessitates the need for continuous learning. And I think I can come back to giving some examples and what is the impact of continuous learning, but I would like to pass it back to the moderator. Thank you for the opportunity.
So, since you spoke about digital nature and attitude, I think this would be, we'd love to hear from Venkat sir. You are an academician yourself, you're an educator and a pioneer in the edtech innovation space as well. How have you seen the integration of technology impacting and helping in aiding continuous learning or creating that culture in schools?
Right. Thank you, Vipasha. So as I was hearing the answers given by the other dignitaries, so one thing that I am realizing is that the continuous learning or the lifelong learning is something that is not just a knowledge, it's a skill. So every child need to intricately get that quality in the at the younger age. So it means that the children not just need to learn from teachers alone, but they should actually rather cultivate the self-learning attitude. So because in the ever-changing world, as they progress in their life, they are going to come across situations which may not have been defined in their books which they studied. So they should be able to adapt to the situations. So therefore, I would say that technology is providing that opportunity for the children to adapt as they move forward. So adaptive learning is something that technology can make it happen. In a classroom, if I'm teaching to 40 students, I will be teaching it in one tune so that everyone can understand. But if it goes through an adaptive learning technology, each child can go at their own pace. Each child can take a different learning journey. Non-linear journeys are possible such that if I am a learner who may have to brush up certain other concepts, then I can go there, I can learn that and come back to the original stream of learning. Or if I am a fast-paced learner, I can go advance faster at my own pace. So technology will enable this in a child so that the children will become naturally interested. So in a classroom, I cannot satisfy every student if I'm teaching at a certain pace. Maybe some students, it will match, for someone, it may be fast, for someone, it may be slow. But if a child is taking technology, help of technology, they can actually pace it at their speed. And then when somebody is learning at their natural pace, their tendency for learning and interest for learning will be much more enhanced. And even as a teacher, I will have a lot more insights of how each of my children in the class are progressing, and I will be also be able to take steps. So technology is going to help not just the students and the teachers, but even the parents and the management. All the stakeholders can be brought together into one common point, such that the children, the child-centric, like in the previous question you were asking, how can we keep children at the center? So the children will be at the center using technology. Right now, we are talking about the topic to break the silos. So the silos can be totally avoided, or we can totally eliminate by adapting technology. So this is where I feel, a lot of advantage of technology comes in.
So I'd like to bring in Anvarshaja sir here. Sir, while adopting technology as one of the mediums or the facilitator to break these academic silos and to infuse a culture of continuous learning, what are the kind of impacts that you've seen on student behaviors or student and educator interactions? Were there any challenges that you faced? And if yes, how did we overcome those? So you might have to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Basha, and good evening, you all. So
Yes.
no need to explain the importance of technology in education system. So 1 decade before and see the changes today and 1 decade before. So totally all schools are using technologies. So I think your question is, what are the challenges? Right, madam?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And the kind of positive impacts we've seen.
Okay, both. Okay, positive impact, that means, first 1 decade before we used the traditional way of teaching. So now the students, so the gamification in learning, and the students, they can understand what we are teaching or what we are discussing or what we are sharing. It will access very speedy among the students.
Okay.
Then the second thing, it will reduce the time or the time gap of the educators also. Madam told 35 or 40 minutes periods are that even within this period, we can share a long area among these students in a simple way, nice way. And before it was just a talk or oral discussion only, and we are using just a chalk and board only. Now in technology, many, applications are there. At the same time, many, teaching, learning activities are there. Socrative, Kahoot, Quizalize, Quizzes. This type of activities can access all type of students, even it is low learner or average students or bright scholar. So we can use these type of technology, all the students in one school, if we are categorizing the students. So the second thing, through this technology, because we can integrate the subjects also. So this type, for example, robotics is a part of computer nowadays. So we can use this type of technology or integrate the subjects in between science and computer. In smaller grades, for example, a simple example, that is PowerPoint presentation. We can do by this PowerPoint presentation in lower grades to give them one assignment or one project. So they can do by this way. They can do the PowerPoint presentation the same way they can do the project also in science or social or any other subjects. So the technology or the use of technology is limitless. There is no limit nowadays. And one more thing, I am coming to that, the second side of this technology. Day by day, technology is changing. So that is a challenge. So the adaptability, it will, because from the CBSE from the other boards, they are updating the technologies, but even if they are updating the technology, it will take time to reach in the schools. So within this short term, they are updating another technology. That is the most important. So this, just a minute. Okay. So the second thing is, the digital divide. That is the most important area of that means, there is a division of, for example, the remote and urban areas. We are following the same syllabus, CBSE syllabus or IGCSE syllabus in rural and urban areas. But this type of technology will come there in the rural areas, I think, late. And the accessibility also very, it's not possible in the rural areas. For example, internet connection or, mobile phones or laptops. And some schools, they are providing single laptop to that means each student one laptop. But even the other side of the schools or other schools, there is no laptop, maybe one or two computers are there. So there is a big gap, and this type of technology is not possible in this type of schools. So that is a shortcoming, or, that is the negative side of this digital technology.
Okay. Pune ma'am, I'd like to bring you in here because we have been working and enabling technology in schools across, and we've seen how technology is a facilitator. We'd like to hear your views on the same.
I have, I believe in continuous learning, and personally as an educator and as a vision of Extramarks and as a changing vision of the institutions today. If you really see, all of you head institutions, your mindsets have also evolved in the last 5 years in a big way, and that is because of the technology. So what the topic that we are discussing today, and I've heard such wonderful ideas. I would like to pick up on Dheepan sir's concept of digital nature and attitude. There is a huge shift in that. Inadvertently, in the areas we do not even know, technology has creeped in. And whether you go shopping, anything, you take a thing and you're using a technology there. But interestingly, the schools are still adopting it like luxury. It is not the digital divide that is there, but the whole mindset of 100% integration of technology within the school. So most school heads, teachers, students, parents individually are using technology in every walk of life. But when a particular school says, I'm going to create one huge network of accountability, precision, and personalized learning for your child at a dosa's rate, they still say, oh my God, but you are charging us a lot. This is an external cost. But you don't say that when you have to book a ticket in an airline. None of us talked about that. None of us talked about that I've ordered from Zomato. And that has happened in the last 6 years. But
Right.
still, you see yourself moment we sit and start taking decisions for the year, we are saying, hey, should we take smart class? Should we take 2 computers or 3 computers? It's not a given. While everything around us, technology is given. So if we, as whatever as educationists we have aspired for the last 30 years, that we are going to have flip learning, we are going to have personalized learning, we are going to have continuous learning, that everything is possible tomorrow if we adopt technology holistically. So I've looked at it from a point of a flip pyramid.
Mhm.
You know, in the press, in the when we train as journalists, what they do here is they tell you, how do you write a news story? You flip the pyramid, put the climax on the top,
Hmm.
and then start going into the detailing of the whole story.
Right.
So as a very young journalist, I asked, why would you do that? You're telling a story. So there has to have a build up. They said, no, there are two reasons. It is literature and history on a go. So you got to put it right up there. Where is it that you want to reach, right? And then once you start detailing, when other people come, the person who's doing the photo setting for you wants to cut a part because the story is not fitting in, he takes away the least relevant part of it.
Right.
But we are still telling stories in the school. We are still saying there has to be a timetable where the teacher has to deliver a chapter in a chronological way. Though I have a dream of making him a independent learner. So my thing is, let's all of us flip the pyramid. Actually adopt technology 100%. Equip the child and the teacher with their own teaching, learning material so that tomorrow they become independent learner, not your aspirational independent learner. Then you go and flip the class. And I'm telling you, whatever result you have today for your final exams, it is going to go up by 25% within a month. The reason being, the child is ready. The child is already self-learning. But he's self-learning on everything else but the curriculum. Teacher is still going on her reels, etc., trying to find something interesting, but she does not have aligned to her curriculum in her hand. And when we're talking about continuity, as a child, I need to know in class 1, I study 5 subjects. Some things come naturally, some things I have to be taught. I have some aptitude, other things I learn. Then those trends get mapped digitally for 12 years. And somewhere in 9th, I will know what is my area of proficiency and which is the areas I have to improve. When teacher walks into a class, if she pre-tests the child, she knows that when I have a full chapter, I don't teach us chronologically. I come and solve the problems, take the hard parts and effectively use by 40 minutes. Otherwise, these will become a conversational point. So coming back to conclude my whole thought, and I would like to say, let's look at continuous learning. Okay. It has the philosophy. So let's define what philosophy we want. Philosophy is we want a lifelong learner, that he should be in a habit to continuously improve himself, seek knowledge, and skill himself. That means it's not the knowledge that we give to him, but how to seek knowledge and apply knowledge. So this we define as philosophy. Towards the philosophy, we have to make a science, the way they say pedagogy. So do we teach chronologically or we identify the skill sets and make the school curriculum without taking away your prescribed books? I'm talking about that. Then you start using the tools. What does technology do? Gives you access, gives you precise access, also puts you in a habit. If you do not make your digital tools part of your lesson plan, teacher will always think it as an external effort. But moment it comes into a lesson plan, that did you take the pre-test before this chapter came? The way we used to have, no? Have you decided on your teaching aids? You should do. Have you taken the diagnostic test? What is the percentage of children that understands a part and which parts are you tackling in your lesson plan? Will you bring change? So my deal is to have a philosophy, to have a pedagogy, and then use the tools towards that. Do we go and actually make it happen? And your first step of flipping the pyramid is equip everybody.
Right.
And then see the change that has happened. Because these walls are closing in on us. And they're closing in so fast. If we do not flip this, he's going to spill out. And his learning is going to be more out of school than in school.
Right.
But we do need the wisdom of the adult instructor in the school. child on his own will lose his path. So we, as an institution of a school or educators or edtech innovators, have to remain relevant to the child, to the whole process of learning. Therefore, sir, the way you said, attitude. Except the attitude has changed. When it's your child, you're backslapping your child and asking what his problem is, though you're a parent. Then this child expects that adult to listen to him. And there has to be from delivery to a dialogue. So first is technology, second is nature. Human nature is curious. And finally, it is the attitude that has changed. We have to change that. So my concluding line on continuous learning is, we know everything. We should put the jigsaw puzzle together. And finally, be brave to adopt technology with its learning tools and assessment tools with absolute bravery. Like, just adopt it and just see how your school what you think on your seat today, you will translate that into action within a month. So that's the magic. And you should be brave to take on that magic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mona ma'am. Shivani ma'am, we'd love to hear your thoughts on the topic, primarily focusing on how building the inclusive learning, yet maintaining every child's individuality, and also how have you seen continuous learning impacting the dialogue, as ma'am mentioned, between students and educators?
Yeah, good evening, learners. Thank you for the question. As like ma'am said, yeah, it's really very important in today's scenario because practically we find it after like COVID, in the market. Like it's this learning is really very important. If it will be in a continuous manner in between the teachers and the students. Continuous learning, like if we provide our child a individual forum to study, to justify the things in academics, it might be difficult for him to assess the things as per their own caliber. But if we provide the forum like in collaboration way with the group of students and the teacher, that in that scenario, I think student will be open with their own thoughts and ideas, and he might be like feel very comfortable in that zone. He can discuss the things like in an open forum with everyone. He can exchange the things. So this will definitely help the child as well as the teacher to impart different kind of knowledge to the student. And teacher is definitely like the nature, the curiosity, like the external effect, because practically we find the parent, like the again I'm saying, the teacher, the student and the parent all are completely be a part of this continuous learning for the better growth of a student. This is really very important. Practically, we find so many difficulties on ground level because so many students are positively using this, but few students are practically like not following, not using this digital way or ethic gadgets in a proper manner. So sometimes teachers are also finding different kind of problems with the students on ground, and the parents are really worried with so many things. Why they are not like definitely this is having a positive as well as negative impact on the mind of
And
student.
I wanted to ask you something, one thing.
Yeah.
When COVID happened and all of us went online, remember overnight, all of us
Yeah.
had to go online to teach the children. You know, the biggest point or worry that was coming was children would switch off their camera or not dress properly when they were sitting. There was no decorum. Because in the last 60 years, we were told how to manage a class or how to sit in the class, what are the rules of discipline in the class, but nobody really worked on what are the rules of a
Yes, ma'am.
online learning, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I
Yes.
feel that unless we jump into the pool, we will not know how to swim. And once we learn the strokes, we make rules, we make, so I think for us, the digital learning world has also opened the world of making new rules.
Yeah,
Because if
I
you
will.
want the outcome, I'm sure you must have decided in your own class that you should, you will share with us what are the new things that you decided. You would be the best person. So, but my only intervention I wanted was, why don't you tell us what should be done so that adoption can happen and we can overcome the challenges of that adoption?
Ma'am, like so many platforms, so many forums are there for this new learning. We are also trying to apply this like forum on every student with teacher. But ma'am, like out of this way context, my main concern is for those parents because it's an open forum. You are experienced person, and might be I can discuss this problem with you. Uh, Few parents are, ma'am, really practically very worried because uh, when they are not like, if we are talking about for big brands and this high class technology, everything is very good, ma'am, because as per the world changing scenario, we have to adopt this anyhow. We have to, it is having so many different positive good learnings because every day we are finding different kind of new change in the market, in
But
the technology.
parental worries, ma'am, is because for the child security. Okay, that is the bigger worry, and the smaller worry would be that is he using time effectively or wasting time. So the first worry of security, like one or two schools that I know of, what they did was used a lot of latest nanny software so that other than the educational content, other content cannot be accessed within the school premises. And we made there are a lot of tools like that. Your IT heads and all should be told to go and explore it. Secondly, there are a lot of cyber crime and cyber security discussions and experts who come and educate. We need to be educated. All of us need to be educated. But when we plan workshops, we a lot of times plan workshops on how to teach. We plan workshops on team building, but we should very consciously plan workshops on what are the new rules and regulation, what are the new tools that can help us secure the digital environment. But this does not mean you lock the access. The point is we have to find new ways of
New
creating,
way.
we have to open our mind to also learning new pathways. So I'm sure a lot of you must have explored, and I would love that to be shared with the forum. What have you done personally in your schools to ensure technology is there, but you have made certain rules and regulations or got some kind of help, digital security help to be able to enable it? That'll be a very great information to share with all of us.
Preeti ma'am, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, so technology, we have used in our school with something I think one of you mentioned probably was virtual labs. Now, this is something which I thought was really useful because there are some experiments where they can't actually do that in the lab itself. So this was a kind of a thing where they saw it, they understood the concept, and maybe watched it in the lab at a distance and perform it. So I think this was one way of using digital technology to even show some dangerous experiments which older children can do it and not the younger children. So this was one which, apart from the cyber part and the cyber bullying or scamsters coming, this was one thing I thought was very useful, which we introduced in our school. The other one was the digital field trips. So without actually taking them, we took them to various places. And, there was so much of history, there was so much of geography learned through that. So all this was a huge learning experience, which I would say thanks to technology, which couldn't be done earlier. So you don't have to really experience the heat or the slush of that place or whatever. You could actually see.
More than, ma'am, that information. When
Exactly.
we were going for field trips, whatever little teacher knew, she would tell us. But now
Exactly.
these kind of tools tell you all the historical
Yes.
current facts.
Yes.
Also, it's deeper learning, really.
Much, much deeper. Yes.
Yeah.
So these two was something which I thought were wonderful things that we could learn from being digitally connected. Thank you.
Deepan sir, any new things that we have deployed at our school that you want to share with us?
I think by and large, also considering the parent as an important member of implementation at home, and considering the teacher as an important member of facilitating these technology implementation at the school. I think that's the mindset with which I think we should look at any technology implementation for that matter. How much ever you are going to be able to invest in a gadget, the students will have excuse. You look at investing in a gadget, and then by the month of August, he's going to tell you that the touchscreen is not working. So, the end of the day, what matters is unless we continue to involve the parent and the teacher proactively in the process of any technology implementation, the true outcome is not going to be achieved. Now, whether you start with a simple Google Classroom project submission, or you go with any kind of a technology that probably a company like, say, Extramarks is going to come out with, anything for that matter, what ultimately matters is the true involvement and education of the implementation with the parent as well as the teacher. I think that is one mindset with which we need to start to look at any success.
Right.
So
So
this particular point is very interesting. But in this also, one is to engage a parent and communicate to him this is something important to do, or if he has worry points, to be able to align them and reassure them about it. Second thing is, one is very obvious handling of it. There is another layer which is inadvertent, which I think we have to think very deeply about, is that can we transition? For example, Extramarks has this platform on which a teacher can teach. So it seamlessly moves from your smart class, and suppose tomorrow everybody declares a holiday or there is something, you can next day continue your timetable and transition online. It is used very seamlessly. But one school I came across, and I thought that was such a brilliant idea, and I want to use this forum to share it. They shifted their PTA onto the platform. So in which once a month, that teacher addresses all the parents of the class in an address of next month, this is my agenda, this is what I'm planning to do. And all parents, without having to physically reach the school for PTA, log on and they know the plan of action that is there. And then few children or parents, in the privacy of the home or whatever, one-on-one interaction happens without other parents really looking over their shoulder, as the teacher is either reprimanding the child or praising the child. So it brings a more personalized relationship with the parent. Parent would love to walk with us, but we would not want parents' interference when the teacher is teaching, she could have taught better or something like that. That is interference, right? We are using our platforms, allowing teacher, parent to interfere, not partner. But if you use your PTA and use the same platform, and when parent knows this platform is so easy, they don't even question when the child is anyway going on that platform. It's a very one is very obvious, others tacit way of transition. So this is one idea that I really feel. So when somebody comes and gives you a tool, you don't have to take it in the absolute term of that tool's, but explore its possibility to your philosophy. And I really thought that was such a great idea.
Yes.
Ma'am, one question that I have been thinking about, which I would really want to ask the panelists here. Clearly, as Shivani Miss also introduced us as learners, we need to structure and prioritize professional developmental opportunities also for the teaching staff, so that they're able to support continuous learning. Would love to hear your thoughts on how we are doing that in today's day and age. What are the kind of professional development we are providing to our teachers, which enables continuous learning for them as well, and in turn for the students?
I can chip in with the one practice
Yes,
that
sir.
we have in Shakthi International School. So each day, 8 a.m., we started this during COVID. It was such a wonderful practice, and we didn't want to let go. And I think for the last 4 to 5 years, each day at around 8 a.m., we meet through Zoom. The entire teaching and admin faculty meet in the morning, 8 a.m., because it is convenient for faculty who are traveling on bus also to join in by having a headset. And it is convenient for me as an administrator to join from anywhere, for the principal also to join in, and for all the other teaching and even admin faculty. And we first start with a silent prayer and a motivation story, but then we quickly also complete a 5-minute instruction for the day. So from 8:10 to 8:30, 20 minutes each day, one faculty is allocated a topic, and the faculty needs to share the learning with hers or her peers. At times, you also bring in external faculty members, our alumni, to share his or her views. I think this is a continuous process that is done. So in this, we make our mornings more powerful, we make our mornings more effective, and it sets the day in the positive direction at our school.
Preeti ma'am, we'd love to hear from you, but before that, I'd also like to inform all our participants who've joined us. We've opened our Q&A, so in case if you have any questions, please post it on the chat. We'll definitely try and address the queries. Preeti ma'am, we'd love to hear from you on the developmental strategies for teachers.
Yeah. So we encourage all our faculty to, do research. We even on Teachers' Day recognize that fact that, these teachers are taking the extra mile and going and doing research. We try and enroll them in courses like THINKed, which is THINQ, which is, on critical thinking. So these are things which are, and we want to get that once the teachers train, they get that training, they implement it with the students. Or we tie up with universities in Rajasthan where we have project-based, where the teachers create projects like type 1 diabetes. How would you work it out in a hospital? And, what are the help that the admin can be given and things. And these are then, after the teachers learn, they go into the school. So the schools will now do in the 3rd year, where they will be using this project-based method, where it is already learned by the teachers. So we have these tie-ups with various universities, higher education learning centers, where professional development is given a lot of importance, and a lot of research is something that we always emphasize on.
Venkat sir, you've pioneered in live classes, and I'm sure our academicians who are teaching, our educators who are teaching, also required to be upskilled. What are the kind of upskilling that you've seen worked best for you and would be a great takeaway for our teachers at schools as well?
Right. So in live classes, we always try to replicate a classroom experience. Although there are many other things which are much beyond and better than classroom. So that's one thing, like most of the time teachers tell that, unless I make eye contact with my students, unless I see their facial expressions, I don't feel connected to teach. So here is where a lot of training goes into, teaching or training my teachers, where we tell them that, see, every student may not give an expression to you. Sometimes the student may not understand and have not given expression to you. So don't think that when you are seeing their expressions only, then you are teaching better. So there are times where you need to raise a question such that the student also starts pondering on it, and then you give an answer. So it gives an enlightenment to the student. So keeping the lecture so lively and interesting is more important. And in a classroom, if there are like students sitting in your classroom, whether you teach good or bad, the student is forced to sit in the class. But if it is a live class, the student can just walk out by clicking the cross button at the corner of the screen. So teaching online is more challenging, I would say. Unless you keep it really, really interesting and engaging for the students, it's going to be a tough job. So I think the teachers also evolve better when you teach online, because they know for sure that my class is getting recorded, and every single sentence that I speak need to be really accurate, and I need to ensure that no student leaves the class. So these are the aspects which we focus upon. So these are my KPIs. But before that, I have to ensure that to meet these KPIs, the necessary training is given to the teachers. So that's where I think schools can also leverage this. Like in Extramarks, we have our smart board, which can record every single lecture that is happening in the class, and it can record every single information that is written on the screen, and it will be recorded. So teachers will also put more effort to ensure that everything that they are speaking in the class is well thought through, and then the time is utilized well. There are no deviations from the mainstream lecture. So I think I see a lot of advantage in adapting it completely. As Poonam ma'am said, that you have to adapt it completely, not like in partial. I will take this in bits and pieces, use certain things and don't use certain things. Complete adaptation will definitely enable things better.
Great. So to sum up our discussion, we'll go around the table, and I'd love to hear your one-liners on summing up the discussion. What is the most significant takeaway you hope that our teachers gain regarding the impact of continuous learning on students? We can start with Shivani ma'am. Ma'am, you're on mute.
The most important thing is our teachers are getting everyday new advancement knowledge with the everyday changing technology, and with the help of this knowledge, they directly implement all the good things on the students in the class. And we are also working on two different fields. One is professional development, and second one is personality development. As Dheepan sir told, for personality development, different kind of advancement learning is going on, and every teacher wants to learn new things every day for their own personality development. And for professional development, we also in the morning, 5 minutes meditation with our teachers, and 5 minutes meditation with our students, for keep the environment cool and calm for the whole day. So these type of things we prefer to do in our campus. And thank you so much, all the mentors, for sharing this platform with us. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. Poonam ma'am. Thank you.
Anvarshaja sir. You'll have to unmute again, sir.
Okay, so the most important thing is it's a lifelong education. So that's why the students are acquiring knowledge. That means love of knowledge through their entire life, through this continuous learning. So they are sharing knowledge and they're acquiring knowledge. The same way the professional development of the teachers. So what I'm doing in among my teachers, they are taking workshops or training among them. So monthly or bi-monthly, they are taking workshops or training among, that means their friends. So they are sharing the new technologies, they are sharing new updates, they are sharing new strategies among their friends.
Peer
So they are,
learning.
yeah, they are learning each other. So through this way, the teachers and students, they are acquiring a knowledge and love. That means a lifelong knowledge. They are acquiring lifelong knowledge and allowed to this, updating their knowledge, updating the technologies and everything related to them. And the teaching and learning process, it will become, too easy. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. And thank you all the panelists, those who shared your brilliant ideas.
Dheepan sir, your key takeaways for us.
I think the process of learning is like the process of painting. If the painting has to be beautiful, you need to involve in it continuously and complete it. You cannot afford to have scratches. You cannot afford to have, a flash of brilliance one after the other. You need to be involved in the process continuously, and learning is such a process. And true transformation is possible only when learning happens continuously and consistently. It allows us to step ahead of any challenges that can come in the future. So true transformation happens only through continuous and consistent learning.
Closing remarks, Preeti ma'am.
The silos that we created all these years. So the rationale behind was the separate subject approach, which has been based on the philosophy that basically education was to master facts, principles and skills in a specific content area. And that's why we had these silos. And I personally believe in integrated curriculum completely because it encourages continuous learning and it holds on to the belief that mastering of facts is secondary and making curriculum meaningful through the integration of subject areas and problem solving is what is the need of the day. Thank you.
Venkat sir.
Yeah, I think, the most important takeaway for me is to break the silos. It is very important to build synergy. On a positive notation, just if I flip the topic, breaking silos is basically building synergy.
Right.
So to build the synergy between school, parents, children, everyone, learning for the parents is also important because parents are also learning as their children are growing. So a lot of parents consult me asking if their children is going to 10th standard, what should be the strategy, going to 11th standard, what should be strategy, what after class 12th, and so on. And even same with kindergarten students, those who are putting their children first time in the school or coming to middle grade, somebody is facing difficulty in communication or somebody facing difficulty in mathematics. So these things cannot be just done with one PTM or one orientation in the beginning of the year. I think a lot of synergy need to be built into the system between all the stakeholders. So we cannot say that only children are going to be lifelong learners. To demonstrate that, we as teachers or parents, we need to adapt lifelong learning for ourselves, and we should involve ourselves more into this education process. So to build that synergy, again, coming to the original point, so adaptation of technology will definitely make it seamlessly possible. So building synergy is my key takeaway.
Pune ma'am. Ma'am, you're on mute.
We work in silos because it is systematic. We have to realize that. And when you have to work towards an outcome, you have to create systems. So if today you say collaboration and integrated learning is what we have to bring, we have to create systems that we achieve it beyond a philosophy. And therefore, clarity on top is very, very critical, that where I'm headed, what systems am I creating, and what tools and platforms I'm using to actually make it a reality. Yes, it is synergy, but synergy also has to be systematically implemented for the culture to be created, right? So my deal is be absolutely brave in adopting technology, create your own unique system and curriculum towards your vision, but do not be narrow in adoption or piecemeal. That's my only take.
Great. Before we sum up the evening today, I'll just request all our panelists to wear their wonderful smiles as we are going to capture this moment to remember it forever. We'll just take a picture. Thank you. While there was so much knowledge shared during the course of our interaction today, there are a few points discussed that I will hold close to myself. Any school that builds on a culture of continuous learning will foster curiosity, critical thinking, creativity in students. Any school that promotes synergy between students, parents, and teachers is a must to truly break the academic silos. And adoption of technology is another a must-have. Thank you, dear participants, for your active engagement. I must say that we have about 500 plus participants today in our session, eager to learn from all the panelists that we've heard from. Your commitment to the future of education is something that we look forward to. The attendees who've participated in the session will receive a certificate of participation from our side. We request you all to please share your valuable feedback of this session. Stay tuned on our website, www.extramarks.com/EM-Elevate for the recording of this webinar and the details of our upcoming session. And lastly, thank you again for joining us on this roller coaster of wisdom. Until next time, keep dreaming big, laughing out, designing these career pathways like you're crafting a masterpiece. See you all in the future. It's definitely looking pretty awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.